We are live.
Hello and welcome to our EBC Teens talk show hosted by the Early Birds Teens Club. Today with us, we have a distinguished guest, Dr. Sunil Nair.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Sunil Nair is a PhD and MA in Mass Communication and an MBA and B Tech in Electrical and Electronics Engineering. He is the General Manager of Acer Incorporated in Singapore and is the Chairman of the Kshetrapalaka Charitable Trust. He, alongside being in a high position in the corporate world, has used his passion for Hindu culture to restore many ancient dilapidated temples in India, transforming the lives of thousands of people living in their vicinity. His work, in a way, brings ancient history back to life.
Kshetrapalaka is a registered charitable trust established in Palakkad, Kerala, with the sole objective of the reconstruction and renovation of Hindu temples that are in ruins. In the very first year of formation, the trust undertook the rejuvenation projects of 5 temples in various parts of Kerala. It has identified scores of temples scattered mostly in the northern part of the state, which call for an immediate restoration. All new renovation projects undertaken by the trust adhere to measurements as stated in the ancient text Tantra Samuchayam and Shilpa Ratnam, which provide guidelines for the construction of Hindu temples.
Dr. Sunil Nair is also passionate and well-read in ancient Hindu scriptures. Thank you, Dr. Nair, for coming on this show. We're very happy to have you here.
It's my pleasure as well. Thanks for inviting me. And it's a rare opportunity to speak to very young people who are motivated and interested to know about passion and also the rejuvenation of temples, etc. It's really my pleasure and honor.
Thank you. So before we start, we're going to introduce our teens who are here with us. So we have various members of the EBC Teens Council. So we're going to do a quick introduction. I am Krisha and I'm based in USA.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shrikar. I'm 15. I study in 10th grade, and I'm also based in the USA.
I am Arohi. I'm 12 and I am in India.
So, with that, without any further ado, let's get started with this exciting interview on passion, profession, and purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the first question we have for you is, what do you do as a general manager in Acer Singapore? Please describe your work on a daily basis.
Okay. So general manager, as the term denotes, it is a responsibility given to a professional to manage the overall aspects of the business. The overall aspects of the business would include many functions that are within an organization, which is required to ensure the smooth functioning of the organization. So these functions would involve sales, business development, marketing activities, service and support activities, the IT infrastructure for the back offices and the ERP systems to gather information and provide to you. It also involves many other departments like the logistics department, which are responsible for the warehouse management and also delivery of goods to our customers, etc. So in short, and also of course the most important one being the human resources department. So any organization will have these multiple functions based on the business they are into. So there is also modern day, there is a huge impetus, there is a huge growth on the online business as well. So depending on the nature of the organization, each organization will have certain function, and there will be responsible functional managers whose skills are into that particular core competency. So the function of a general manager is to ensure the overall smooth functioning of the organization as a whole, and to ensure the organization meets with its vision, mission, and the goals it has set for itself in the near term and also the long term. So these goals can be, let's say, one aspect is the financial goals. How much revenue would the company would need to make in a year, for example, and also what is the associated profit in bringing those revenue. to optimize various elements like the headcount expenses, the administration expenses, to ensure customer satisfaction, etc. So it is actually encompassing all of these functions, and the overall responsibility is given to one professional who will oversee these kind of areas. So this is what a general manager title is generally about, in many organizations. So this is what is the role that I do. In reality, I have two titles. I'm also called as a regional director, and have a separate responsibility to manage a few countries, what we term as Asia small economy markets. So besides my general management role for the Singapore business, I also do, let's say, business development function for certain countries that we manage for Acer outside of Singapore. There are few countries that I travel to very occasionally, and those countries are also managed under Singaporean P&L, what we call as a profit and loss statements. So this is in a nutshell that what we do. And of course, talking about this particular industry, you probably would know that we are in the industry of IT hardware, the information technology hardware. So all of those desktop computers, notebook computers, these monitors, these gadgets that we use like tablets, also servers, storage, associated software. All of these are the products, and there are also some services that we do over the cloud, some kind of a managed services, etc. We are also into audiovisual business like the projection and projection systems, digital signages, etc. So these are the product lines and the services. So, and the company is an international company. It is present in most countries in the world, and it is one of the top IT companies, IT brands that we have in the world today. So this is about the industry and my particular function per se.
So it sounds like it's a very prestigious role, and also it's a lot of responsibility. Because if I've heard it right, it's you're like making sure that everything is working properly. You're doing a lot of communication with everyone. You're managing a lot of stuff.
Yes, so it is like similar to that of, let's say, a pilot in an airplane. So the overall responsibility of the well-being of the passengers, and also the overall management of your, KPIs, what we call as the key performance indices, lies with the captain. So this captain is overall responsible for all the passengers in the plane. So it will require a person to make timely decisions and correct decisions, also ensure the customers are kept happy and the problems are managed in a very sensible, reasonable, and a timely manner, from time to time. Because in modern world, and not only in life, I mean, not only in business, but in life as well, life takes unexpected twists and turns, etc. So it is important to keep a gauge of what's happening within your company, what is happening within your particular industry per se, also what is happening to the competitors, how is the buyer behavior evolving, because this is a changing world. Times are so tough and evolving that you need to really be on top of things. So this is really a big responsibility. So the good part is it is a responsible position, but it also brings its challenges. So unless one of the topics that we are what we have to discuss is about the passion also. So unless a person is very passionate about all of this and considers the company as one's own, and also you have a sense of feeling that you're responsible for many people's career, many families are dependent on the person's job, etc. It brings even more sense of responsibility. So it's like a captain or like a head of a family. You need to understand about the overall well-being. So you need to keep your company intact so that all the interests of all of us are protected.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. It's like you're carrying everyone like in the Singapore thing on your shoulders.
It would not be correct to say that I'm doing it alone, because this is a multinational company. There is a huge support from the headquarters. So the headquarters also has functions, and there are people around who to support each function, also to give various guidance, and also share some intelligence on the market, intelligence on the industry, and also to guide at all times that we are not off the radar. We keep to our course and ensure that the GPS is correctly followed.
So on that note, how long have you been working for Acer?
Actually, I'm quite lucky because I joined when I was very young, in my, I think, late 20s. in 2001, in the beginning of the year, on a New Year's Day. I was very young, and I was given a very responsible position as a country manager for 5 countries. I was coming outside of the Middle East, but I was asked to come to join in Middle East with 5 countries. So it's about let's say 17 years, because in between, for a couple of years, I went to Microsoft for another assignment. Then I was required to come back, so I came back and I continue. So it's been quite a long journey, and it is a rare thing in today's world to have such a long association in a particular company in one profession.
Wow, 17 years, man.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so were you interested in this field since your childhood, or did like a specific event in your life trigger your passion towards this career that you've chosen?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question. In life, as I mentioned, although it brings up some challenges, as I mentioned a little while ago, there are also opportunities that will knock your doors many times. So in life, as a young people, you need to be alert to listen to those knocks of opportunities that come once in a while. So for me, your question is very relevant because it happened that way. That's why I'm in this industry. So after my, let's say my 12th grade in where I was studying in India, I was, I'd secured admission to the engineering college. I was secured a seat in the electrical and electronics discipline, engineering discipline. So once I joined, an unexpected event that happened that actually triggered my course, a change of the course of my life from there. So what happened was that my father is a cost accountant, and he was practicing in my own hometown after a long service in the private sector. So he used to have an office with people, and he used to have computers. And computers, I'm talking in the year 1989. So at that point in time, these computers were very expensive commodities. It was very hugely expensive. And then I had some people working and all that. My father at that point in time had got an assignment unexpectedly from an overseas company. So he had to take that. It was an attractive offer, and he felt that it would do well for his career. So he had to actually leave this establishment, and he had to go overseas. And I being the only son in the family, it was a little bit of a tricky times at that point in time, because we had 2 offices in 2 adjacent districts, and it was equipped by this, and it was also we also had people working for us in those establishments. The nature of the establishment was mainly towards the consulting for accountancy purposes. But then so I was put in we were, let's say, the family was put in a predicament. So we had to take care of these establishments. These equipment were very expensive. We did not know what to do with it, because in those days this is a rare item. The computer itself was a rare item, so there will be no easy takers if I were to sell it, and it was so expensive. So I had actually volunteered to my father and said that while I do my engineering, give me some time, I will figure out what to do with these establishments, and also the responsibility to the employees, etc. So there, as you know, any company has overhead expenses, they call all the expenses that you meet with to keep the company running, which would mean the rentals, which would mean the payment of the electricity, utility bills, etc., payment of salaries, etc. So all of this was quite a big sum for me at that point in time. Somehow I took up this challenge. So I was doing a very particularly difficult course, which was electrical and electronics engineering. At the same time, I had to take care of these 2 establishments in adjacent districts, so it was, let's say, by travel, it was about an hour and a half apart, these offices. So one thing led to the other, and I was involved in this computer business, and then we had to make it viable, because I was not an accountant, so that I would not get any clients. So we had to do some electronic data processing. Those days, the banks did not have computers with them, you see. So what they do is, there are a lot of instruments that we call the checks, the demand drafts, and the foreign drafts that would come to any branch. They would outsource to another company who has computers to actually put it in a digital format and pass it via secondary media devices, like what we call as floppy disks in those times of the year. So luckily we got this contract with a large nationalized bank in India. So there was a cutoff time at 2 p.m. and the bank counter was about to close. We need to collect those instruments, quickly process by the end of the evening. And the next morning when the bank branch opens, we had to submit it back in a digitalized format, for them to use, and they would similarly collate or consolidate these kind of data coming from various branches within the district, and they will do whatever they want to do in terms of processing. Yeah. So this was it. So it was something I had to take the plunge into something which I didn't know. So I was into that business, that business, and it became more interesting. I had to balance my studies with a little bit of business like this. Then after some time, computers were becoming more popular. Then I decided perhaps that it is a good idea to buy and sell computers as a reseller. So this also I started. So by the time I finished engineering, one thing I realized that engineering was not for me, and I was not at all attracted by the electrical connections one would make for either companies or houses, etc. I definitely knew that that was not my line, and my line was into the computers, because I had a first-hand feel of how to run a business, how to work in this IT field, which was quite complicated at the time. A lot of jargons. You talk about RAM, you talk about CPU, talk about clock speed, etc. It was a very fancy time. So with this experience, I got into this. Then I did not, after I graduated from engineering college, I did not even apply for a single job that was pertaining related to engineering. So I always thought it would be better for me to go into the IT. By the time I completed my engineering course, my father was back from the assignment overseas, and he was back in town. So my first application was looking at a newspaper ad requiring at an IT computer company requiring a sales manager far away from my town. So without getting any consent from my parents, I did apply for that. And they did not expect that I would be so young, just outside fresher of college. I did not even have my results with me at that point in time. And then they actually was impressed with the kind of the depth of the knowledge and understanding of the business, and I was given the offer as a sales consultant for that point in time. So that's how I got into the IT field. It has been a very good journey, because I had gone through the cycle of ups and downs of running a business and understanding this business per se. So after that, I got into a very big Indian IT company. It's a very huge giant at that point in time. So I believe by the time I was around 25 or 26, I happened to be the youngest sales head for a capital city in a state of India. You see, that was the kind of understanding I got. Then that's how I started. Then I went off with my journey, and going into a multinational company like Acer was quite natural for me, although they were surprised how could a young boy could know about all of these kind of things in such detail. Not only understanding about the products, and also about what it could offer and how it had evolved, but it also in the sense of coming from a business angle to understand the need that any company needs to be profitable, any company needs to have revenue for it to sustain. So that understanding is with which I entered into the field of multinational companies. So this is how my career took a turn, and I had to go into this IT line, which I never regret till date.
So did you face some difficulties while rising up to such a prestigious role?
Let me put it this way. I really honestly did not have any difficulty, because for some reason I was a very confident young man. When you are thrown into tough situations in life very early on, for me, I was in my late teens when had to run a business, that too in two different offices in two different districts. So I was somehow very confident. When I was 18 or 19, I used to go and bid for tenders. You know how a bid for tender happens? It's like when a company needs to buy equipment, they have to float some kind of information to people who are possible partners, and tell them to quote. And the quotes are only accepted based on their competitiveness. I hope you know this process of how companies procure equipment for their requirement. So at that, when I was in 18, 19, I found myself going into meeting with very senior people of large organizations, banks, and other private companies seeking computers. And I was here to alone to tell them, this is my quotation and this is the features and benefits if you were to buy computers from me, kind of a thing. So I was very confident. But what surprised me is the positive reactions that I've received, especially from multinational companies. Because when somebody asks you, what did you do? And when I say that by the time I graduated, I already had 4 years of experience running a company, people are a little bit amazed, you know. And generally speaking, people in high positions in companies really value the kind of experience that you actually go through with hardship. So that is very much valued. As I was saying, in my first years of employment in 2001 with the Acer, they did not have any hesitation to give me 5 Arabic countries to manage, and I was fresh out of India. I was in the Middle East, in a strange country, and then the 5 countries that I'm supposed to manage, I'm responsible to manage, were not in the country that I was staying. You see, it was completely outside. So I had to go interact with people of multiple racial culture, multiple background, and they did not speak, any of them did not speak my language, you know. So it was really a pleasant experience. And very surprisingly, I wouldn't say surprisingly, people are very good by nature. So they were actually looking at me with some kind of wonder on how all this could happen. I mean, how could such a young boy talk to us, very senior people, about business? But I would say by the time I concluded my first year of business in those 5 countries, I was awarded the best employee award, because that was the time the highest revenue ever came from those 5 countries that the company was managing. So it was like that. And to answer your question, Arohi, further, to elaborate it, to give you more confidence, to see, when you are confident about yourself and when you stand for certain, let's say, values, or let's conviction that you have, then you'll be surprised at the number of people who are willing to listen to you and open up to you. It is a wrong notion to think that companies, when they publish something, they're only looking at your skill set, they're only looking at your background, your experience. That is not true. If you allow me, later on, I can give you some tips and secrets of how to get into a multinational company as well. Because there are some wrong notions that we carry with our life, you know, that this is how it has to be. And these are the rule book, page number 40, clause number 3. This is how you have to look. This is how you have to be. But it is not so. The world is filled with a good number of people who are experienced and who actually want to come up in life. They want to motivate people. They want to encourage people. There are some good people. When I was in the 3rd year or 4th year of the company, I was given one of the largest countries I was the youngest in that time in the sales team, and I was asked to manage the largest revenue country. In 2 years after that, managing that country, that single country gave us more than 100 million US dollars of business, with just one person traveling from another city, another country, to going there managing. Whereas my competitors at that point in time had their local office with many people employed, etc. I'm not saying that I'm a wonder boy and could do miracles, but the early kind of opening that I got actually really fueled my growth in the company. When I started interacting and going more into the company was that time, that office was reporting into the headquarters in Europe. So our office was in Switzerland, and I had to go multiple times to Switzerland to, let's say, once in 3 months, what we call as a quarterly review, to just review as to what is the performance, are we against the goals that are set for the company, etc. Many times I found that I am the only person who looked completely different in the room and spoke with a different accent in the room, etc. For many years, in a conference room, when I was presenting, all the other people did not look like me, was not from my ethnicity, etc. So this is a real beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing subsequently in my career, which I had, it was about 5 to 6 years ago. I was suddenly asked to manage the African continent business. You see, it is such a big, diverse country, so many countries. At the last count, when I counted, at that my position, I was responsible for business for the company for 36 countries in Africa. Some of them were very new to me. I did not meet those people there, etc. But what I understood is the human beings in most of these, regardless of whether it is Asia Pacific, whether it is regardless of Europe or that in Africa, human beings have a common trait. There is a lot of goodness in them, and there is they value what is called as trust. You see, in business, it is also a wrong notion that people just buy technology, people buy products from each other or other companies. It is not so. Just in the case of business, I mean, just in the case of life itself, as in the case of business, what is most important is the relationship, and relationship is actually based on a foundation of trust. So when two people are involved in a discussion or based on trust, then that's when it happens. It is not really about selling some product to somebody or selling some technology to somebody. So for me, I did not consider anybody of any other race or any other region as somebody alien to me, because I could connect with people to their heart, and I could consider them as a human being, as an individual, and treat with them with respect, and do not never play games, tell them the truth, and etc. So much so, in certain instances, there are many instances in my life, I found that I could bag a deal, not because I was lowest in price, just because they trusted me. Because the trust is a factor which which has a high, is attributed to very highly by a customer. They know, when they know they are in safe hands with a person, this is an honest person and he would not let us down when we would probably be in need. For example, these are electronic equipment. You do not know when it would work, when it would fail, etc. in those times. So but eventually, at any point in time, if we were at least in a little bit of a uncomfortable situation, we can rely on this kind of a person. So this kind of an integrity and honest, straightforward approach helped me, I mean, for a long time, you see. So this is the fundamental thing about growing from places and interacting with multiple people, etc. So I would say, being in this position and also being given the opportunity to manage different territories, different countries, etc. I would on for the company, I would have traveled to more than 65 countries, you know, in the around the world on work. And when you say 65, it is not just 65 trips, because one country I would have visited more than 50 times, 50. So it is like a huge number of travel, huge interaction. So I'm a person who like to interact with people, share ideas, understand how they live, what they believe in, and how or what are their plans, what is their purpose in life, for example. So all of these things attributed to all of this situation. So as young people, you must be very open, and very open to ideas, very open to people, regardless of all the other notions that we may have from our upbringing or what we are made to believe. All of these things, you will have a pleasant surprise that it is not going to be as difficult, because children are made to believe that it is a mean world out there, do not trust, etc. But when you go with this kind of negative notions, it actually closes some parts within you. Some circuits don't work within you because you've been asked to power it off, or it is powered off before you even venture out of your house, you see. And in in uh, in any communication, because I've also done a little bit of communication, so let's say majority of the communication happens not by words. For example, it happens through our gestures, the to look a sparkle in your eye, or how you suddenly react to a sudden statement, etc. So you cannot hide your emotions. So unless you're a genuine person, it is wrong to believe that other people cannot see through you. I hope you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, once one of my mother's friends told me that in the corporate world,
Hmm.
they look for values and like your ideology more
Hmm.
than your skills, because skills they can develop, they can help you develop,
Hmm.
but your ideology, how you think, how you act,
Hmm.
that they can't really change. So that's like a key gamer thing I
Yes.
decide.
It is true, because one of the things that you should inculcate in your life, not just professionally, but in your personal life, is the values that you stand for. So if you say that you are an honest person, straightforward person, and you do not believe in growing up in life or coming up in life by trampling on somebody else's foot or just snubbing out somebody else's passion, then eventually the success will come to you one day or the other. So for large in multinational companies, since they operate across the globe, so they are also governed by many international laws. See, and any violation or any perceived violation in any part of the world can attract huge penalties to be imposed on them by various trade bodies or various business partners they are associated with. So the fundamental values that you have are called the personal values. What do you stand for in life? Are you only worried about your ambition and you do not care, you do not have values? Then you are a very hollow person, because values is what takes you forward till you actually leave this world. So personal values is very important. In addition to that, when you actually go into a company, you have what is called as an induction ceremony or something, or induction week or a month. What they say, they try to teach you what does the company values are, and what the company values are, what is the mission of the company, what is the vision of the company. The founders would have had a vision for starting the company, and what is the mission of the company, and what are the values that they stand for, and what are the values they would like their employees to adhere to. So these are the fundamental things. So what you need to know is the values of the company. As long as you work for that company, you need to treat it with great respect and also follow it. And in many cases, many instances, most instances, the values of integrity, etc., are also the value of the company. So your personal value matches with that of your company value. So you will really have a pleasant time to work for that company. I'm sure nobody wants to work for a company who does not believe in actually integrity and honesty, and they just, because those any other strategy that are not pivoted on positive thoughts and positive values, those kind of businesses won't last long. So this is something about values that you would probably want to understand.
So I think you cut out when you said businesses.
Yeah, so there are certain, let's say a small time businessman, for example, I'm not accusing anybody. Let's say as I'm a short term, let's say small time shopkeeper. Morning, I wake up, I get a shower, and then I drive to work. My only thought in that day, in my back of my mind, is to make, let's say, 10,000 rupees profit by hook or crook, for example. That is my goal for the day. Then I am a small timer, I'm a proprietor, I do not have any values. Then what happens is your actions are only based or driven by the kind of goal that you've set for yourself to make short-term money quickly. But then you do not give a goal to yourself how to make that money, you see. So then you might end up selling at higher price and giving false promises to people, etc. So I'm talking about, there are some businesses who are not built on a foundation of values or foundation of ethics, so those kind of things will anyway not last long.
Thank you, Dr. Na. Well, that's a very interesting thing. You've had a very interesting personal experience, I can see. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of things here. It's really, it sounds like a really cool job. So when you were in the UAE, were you were in Dubai, right?
Yes.
And what countries were you managing in the Middle East?
Okay, when I joined, I was managing Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, and Yemen. You know, the country called Yemen. I went there several times. It is perhaps not, I do not know what is the situation now. But when I took a greater role, I was managing many countries, almost all of the Middle Eastern countries, including Saudi Arabia, etc. I was also managing Egypt, which is in the north of Africa. I was managing Jordan, Lebanon, etc. at that point in time, and I was managing the Middle East alone. So I believe that I can strongly say that there is no country within the Middle East and Africa where I have not managed a business for our company in some capacity or the other.
Okay, so on the topic of I've heard that you're also the chairman of the Kshetrapalaka Charitable Trust.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about when did you start getting involved with it?
Okay, there's a little bit of a background. Actually, this correlates to our topic of purpose and passion, etc. So again, please recall that I spoke about opportunity knocking at you. You need to be alert to find out when that kind of in this case, I won't call it opportunity. I will call it as a calling. Something will change in you. Some instance will happen. Some person will step into your life. Something will happen to your life that will, at that point in time, you wouldn't know what it is all about, but it would eventually lead to something greater, a very great purpose. So for me, it was an instance. There was a short time in my life when I was out of college, and I believe I was doing some one or two jobs before I got into some of the big league companies. So once I was, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 years out of engineering college, and I was out of job for a period of 2 months. So in those days, for me to seek a job opportunity in my town was almost impossible, because I came from a very small town in Kerala. So there are no opportunities for an IT professional or somebody to pursue a career in sales, etc. So I had to go to Chennai, and I had to stay there in what we call as a lodge to go. So in the morning, what I would do is to carry my CV across to many recruitment consultants in Chennai. So then I will have I will have a chat with the person, the recruiter, and I tell them that this is my profile. I am looking for job in a certain industry, in certain areas, etc. So this was what I was doing. Although it was not, I was not so mature then, so I was a little bit internally upset that I had such a break. It was really a little bit too much for me to take. I did not know how to manage that feeling of negativity that was coming at that point in time. So it happens that one night, it was quite late. I had to meet with somebody to pass my CV for a possible job opportunity. And I don't know if some of you are from Chennai. So what I'm going to narrate is something a little bit miraculous in my life, one of the biggest miracles that have happened in that night, in my life. So when there was, I had to take a train from the place where I went to the place where I was living. So I had to find a train, and it was late at night. I believe it was around 8:45 or 9 p.m. And I was in a rush because I did not want to miss the last train that I would take back to the place where I lived. So when I was just getting, or I mean, just I was walking very briskly and going towards the train station. At that point in time, I noticed a very big Baba temple, Shirdi Sai Baba. It's a huge temple in Mylapore in Chennai, which is a very big adjacent temple pond and all that. I don't know if you are aware of this. It's one of the oldest temple next to after Shirdi temple itself. It is by All India Sai Samaj. So I was just passing, and I looked at the idol. Generally speaking, Shirdi Sai Baba idols are made of marble, carved out of marble, and it is life size. So the idol itself will be 5 feet 3 inches or something like that. So one peculiar thing about that temple is that usually the idols are installed on a higher platform, and so that people can come and look. So generally speaking, in Indian temples, the devotees are not allowed to touch the idol, if you are aware of that. But here, this temple has one peculiar aspect, that the idol itself, the huge marble idol itself, was placed on the floor. So anybody could come, touch the idol, fall at the feet of Baba, and also garland him. And you could actually touch the Guru himself like that. It was a very pleasant feeling at that point in time. So when I was passing, I was rushing, I was looking, the temple was wide open. Usually it is very crowded temple. There are a lot of devotees across Chennai that try to visit the temple, mostly on Thursdays. But when I was walking briskly, I found the temple open, and one very strange thing happened, for which I could not find any reason even till today. Yeah? So when I walked, the whole complex of temple was empty, not a single soul in sight. So when I was going there, I just something told me that I should actually bow to the Guru, take his blessings. So I just walked into the temple. There was nobody, no priest, nobody. It was quiet at night. It was a late night, so there was nobody, no devotees to come. So what I did is, since I didn't have time, I just bent over and bowed at his feet on the idol. The idol is so huge. So the idol usually has a lot of garlands made of various flowers. So there is one thick garland made of tulsi leaf. Such a big garland it was. So he was garlanded, and it was on his around his neck. So when I bowed and I just got up, something in a very fraction of a second, something strange happened. This huge garland made of tulasi just jumped out of his neck and fell on me. And before I was able to lift my head up, the whole garland was on me. So I was a little bit tense and I did not know what to do, because I was certain that I did not disturb the garland. For example, I did not push it up, it just fell on me. So I looked around, there was nobody around. And then I just, some impulse in me told me to just carry the garland. So it was so huge. It was so huge for a life-size idol. So I carried with me and I brought it back in the train to the place where I lived. Something happened within me. I don't know, some magic happened. From next morning, whatever news I was hearing was all very positive. You see, I was, the next morning I get a call to go to an interview with a very big company, which is, I think it was a multinational at that point in time. And I walk into the person. He was a vice president who was interviewing me, and he had a glass slab or a thing on top of his table. And usually in India, they had a tabletop with a glass, and they used to insert something in between, etc., with their cards or whatever. So wherever I go that day, I could see Baba's picture everywhere. You see, I went to there, meet him, and he was just telling me, "Hello, Mr. Sunil," and he was just having a chat with me as though he knows me for a very long time. He was very senior. He was the second, highest designated employee professional working in that organization. Very strangely, in a few minutes, he said, "Would you mind staying for another 15 minutes? Let me have a chat with my HR manager." So we finished the interview, etc. He asked me to have a coffee with him, and then we had a coffee, and he was not talking anything about the job. He was just chit-chatting with me about anything else. Then in 15 minutes, the lady, the HR manager came and just said, "This is the envelope for you. Would you mind signing it now?" And when I opened the envelope, it was already the employment offer, and which was something which I was frantically looking for the past 2 months. So it was something which is, and when the most astonishing part is when I looked at my pay, I almost fell off my chair. The pay was unrealistically, unreasonably very high for a professional with my experience in that at that point in time in India. I did not know what to do, but it was, I for a moment thought that they would have just added another zero by a mistake, for example. That's the kind of thought I had. But nevertheless, so I got signed and I got over with it. After that, all the things that happened in my life was nothing short of miracle, although I do not personally disclose any of these to anybody, because I do not like to carry it as some kind of a marketing for me. So I never did any to anybody. It was much later, many years later, that even I told my very close family members that such a thing happened to me. So after that, life was taking me on a pace as though some purpose was guiding, and somebody was trying to use me as my body. The guru himself was trying to use my body to accomplish something greater, you see. Then the success was natural, and the actions were giving results which are also unbelievable, because I did not do so much effort to get this kind of big results. This became quite often happening in my life. So after some time, maybe when I was, so all of this happened maybe when I was in mid-20s. But when I was, after a few years, this question came to me: what's happening to me? Why is all this so-called miracles happening? Why the Guru's grace is so intensely upon me? What is it that he expects me to do? After some time, when I was in early 30s, I had a strong feeling in me, somebody telling inside me that you have been blessed so much by the Guru, you must do something for your Guru. I was a young boy, I did not know what to do. So I decided maybe one of the best way of showing my love and gratitude to the Guru is perhaps to build a temple for him. Yeah. So this somebody talked inside me, and I thought this was the information given to me. Okay. So I said, okay, to build a temple, how to go about it, and what is the kind of financial capacity that you need to have, and who would build it for me? I didn't know anything. Yeah. So let's say after a couple of months of this thought coming into me for the first time, I was traveling in a different city in India, very far from mine. It's about 4 or 5 hours by drive. When I was going in a car, I don't know if it's a scooter or a car, I find a board in a place where saying it is a Baba's based charity organization in the name of Baba. I just see that. So I just, on an impulse again, I just stopped my vehicle and I just walk up. It was on a second floor, I believe. So I walk up to the place and I ask them, who is the person responsible for this charity house, etc. So they said there's an elderly gentleman. You can see him sitting on a cabin very there. So you would. So who are you? I said my name is so and so, and I'm from this place. So he just walked in and asked, sought his permission whether this person who's coming to seek for meet you, is it okay? So he said okay. So when I walked in, I find an elderly gentleman. He's clad in a white shirt and a white dhoti. He's on phone with somebody. So he beckoned me, he actioned me to just have a seat. So I had a seat. So this person on the phone is talking to somebody else whom I do not know. What they're talking, if this person is replying, I hear him replying saying, this is too much expensive. It is not something which trust like us, who is actually catering to the downtrodden people or the poor people in the place. It's not for us. This is not, is beyond our means. Something like that he was saying. And he was saying something, and he was genuinely sorry to the other person, saying that maybe this idea is not for me or something, and he hung up. Then he turns to me and says, so who are you? So I said, my name is so and so. So he was a little bit perplexed. Why is this young boy coming to meet me, and what does he really want? So maybe I was asking some help. So I just told him, sir, I do not know why I came, for example, but I just want to tell you that is there any opportunity that there is a possibility to send to build a temple for Shirdi Sai Baba? This is what I said to him. The man just stared at me, and it was a long stare, and he was speechless, and he was gazing at me, and I was very uncomfortable because I did not know why he was looking very spellbound, and he was staring at me. Then he told me, so how did you know about me and how about this organization? So I said, I don't know anything about you or the organization. I just saw the board. I stopped my vehicle and just walked up to you. Then he just there was a glass of water, just he drank, he sipped some of the water. And he said, you know what, this is something, a miracle. It's something unbelievable. I do not know how to explain this. So I said, why? Because he said the person on the other side of the phone was somebody from Jaipur in Rajasthan. And he was saying that there is a very beautiful idol of Shirdi Sai Baba made in marble. The person who ordered for it has actually withdrawn, and he does not want to take it anymore. So would you be interested in bringing this idol over to your city and build a temple there for Baba? This was the conversation which I was actually on, which I caught a little bit only in the last part of it. So something happened like this. So he did not believe it. So the first reaction from me, I said, is how much does it cost for the idol? So at that point in time, it was about when I was, let's say 15, 16 years ago, he said it is 5 lakh Indian rupees is a lot of money, which we cannot afford. 5 lakh at that point in was a big money for me as well. I said, impulsively, I again said spontaneously, never mind, I pay for it and let's build the temple. This is what I said. So this person do not know any background of me. And he said, okay, you are going to give me 5 lakhs and you don't know me and you want me to build a temple in my place. I said, yes. Then there was a complete disbelief. He did not, he think this boy was be blabbering something, and he just left it at that. But I went home where I was staying. I had lunch and I picked up my checkbook. Luckily, it was with me. I wrote the amount 5 lakhs and I brought it in after a couple of hours and handed over to him. The person again took the check with him, and he was staring at it, and he said, okay, it's a check. So he said, okay, fine. So where are you working? So I said, I don't live here. I live in Dubai and all that. And I left. Yeah. So he did not give any sign of joy or anything, because he was probably disbelieving that this check would never pass. You see, it would not get encashed, for example. This is a check, is just a paper. So after a couple of days, after I got back to Dubai, so he called me and said, okay, the money is in the bank. So I'm requesting the people in Rajasthan to bring it over. So shall we go ahead? I said, yes. So he told me how. So I asked him, can we get some kind of an estimate of how the building would be and how much it would cost? You see, all this discussion is happening between complete strangers. This is something which is happening. So I want to emphasize the point. It is not a doing of a person. It is the kind of the flow of the grace of the Guru. When a person is ready, how they use one's body to make do things that are really magnificent, I would say. So this, so there was several conversations. He was sending drawings, I was sending money, etc. and etc. I was I think about exactly, it happened in a September. So it is about 14 years ago. The final consecration ceremony happened in that temple, So this is how it happened. So everything was a dream. Everything was so unrealistic. Everything was not planned. It just happened. So the temple was there. And there were a lot of people attending. I was so overjoyed to be present there, to have this consecration witness, etc. So this happened. After some time, I gradually got into this kind of a temple thing, because somebody said that there is a temple to be repaired. Then I started giving some money, etc. After a few years, then a thought struck me. Why do I have a temple very, very far away for my guru when I am living in a different city altogether, or town altogether? So then it occurred to me, I should actually be having a huge temple for Baba in my own native place. This is what something else came up. That was quite easy. I had a piece of land in a heart of the town, so I actually brought my sister along, and I told her that this is the place where I would like to build a temple, and it would be good if you could help me with it, because I don't live here anymore. I'm overseas. I have a job to take care of. Then a very surprising thing came to her. She said she had a very big parcel of land, is about an acre of land, also in a very prominent location. He said, "Can I ask you something? Why don't you build this temple in my land? It's something like much higher and bigger." And so eventually that temple has also happened. So it was very, very big. Then it occurred to me also after some time that it is important to see that there are a lot of temples in ruins, especially in Kerala, because in the 18th century there was Mysore invasion, and a lot of temples were destroyed in that region, or all powerful temples were destroyed. So there were a lot of temples lying in ruins. So why don't you revive those temples and bring it to former glory, etc. So that's how I got into the temple. So once I entered into one particular Durga Devi temple in a remote village in a neighboring district, which is located in the confluence of two very nice rivers, very big rivers with full of water and a lot of greenery, very beautiful ambience there. So once I stepped in that, then that temple by miracle is a very huge temple dedicated to the goddess Adi Parashakti, and from there then there was no looking back, because then when people know that there is a person who's supporting rejuvenation of temples, etc., then there are people, when I come to India, there are a lot of people wanting to meet me. They call me and they said, can you help here, can you help here, etc. So it became like a normal thing that there are a lot of temples being built, etc. So it's a very big honor, and also the blessings of Guru. So even Mohanji is really, really supportive, and he's been very helpful to help me to get things done to quickly, etc. So that is a story. For everything, it is let's say it's let's say divine coincidence, or whatever we say. Even for my job, how I got into the industry, how I got into these temples, etc., is something which is extraordinary, I would put.
Wow, that's quite an interesting story.
Believe me, if you are alert and you are open-minded, all of these extraordinary situations will come into your life. You have to be ready. You have to be pure internally, and the same set of values I said. Your intentions should be pure. Your intensity, intensity of desire, intensity of purpose, if it is strong enough, all of this will come, because all of us are the children of God, and we are not a creature made of an inanimate object. So we are, let's say, souls. So we have a purpose. There is a reason why we are in this world. There's a purpose for everybody's existence in this world. So when you're open, and when you're hollow, and when you don't brag about all of these things, and when you surrender yourself and make yourself available to the universe, to the energy in the universe, to work through you to fulfill their mission, then all of these things will come to you as well. And just wait for it. Once it knocks, you will know. You will be taken into a completely different journey, and this is not planned by you. It is planned by the universe. So it is going to be really, really what do I say, fulfilling.
How do the rejuvenation projects work?
Okay, so you see, I would like to, this is some kind of understanding that I have gathered in bits and pieces from many places. It is not written anywhere, so it might be true, but you might want to just listen to it a little bit on a scientific basis, on the background of why the temples are there. So just like we are a human body and we have a lot of cells in our body in various places, and all of these cells are energy points, and all of these cells need to work in unison and need to perform their functions so as to make the whole human body work. So this idea you get, isn't it? So each cell has to perform its function, its duties, its responsibilities. So when each one performs, then you have a healthy body, and the soul can reside in it, and it is really ready to accomplish or perform whatever duties, etc. Likewise, in the ancient India, the ancient sages of ours are also, let's say, very renowned scientists, because they have observed every phenomenon that happens in this world very carefully, and they have sensed a lot of points, and they have derived some kind of a systems for others to follow, the future generations to follow, so that the whole world lives in harmony. So this is something which I observe. So when you look at, so I asked myself, why is it that somebody chose to build a temple in a particular spot, in a particular place, and why is it that they have chose to install a deity who's representing a certain kind of attribute? For example, if you are installing Lord Krishna's idol there, then Krishna stands, I mean, Krishna, of course, is Parabrahma. He is beyond all gunas. He is, however, in our human world, when we think of Krishna, we think of certain attributes that we give it to him, isn't it? But when you say, when you install Ganesha idol, you attribute certain other qualities or certain other feelings with him. But when you have a goddess, let's say Mahakali as a deity in a place, she is actually generally worshipped for certain requirements, or she is attributed certain qualities by normal people. I'm not saying that they have certain qualities, etc. They are beyond all that. They are universe themselves. So when we look at that, you will understand very carefully when you observe. Our scientists, our ancient sages realized the earth as a place also has energies and energy balances. So when you see certain places, you will see it is desert and there is no possibility of water, and there is no possibility of life to sustain because there is no water. So isn't it strange that in this world there has to be some places with abundant supply of water, and there are places with no water? Isn't it strange? And there are a lot of places where certain types of tree grows, and other places there is no trees that are growing. Some places it's a huge snowfall and it is very cold, and some places are completely different, completely tropical, for example, I would say. So what happens is, when so there is a sense of let's say acute energy points, energy balances for each place. Just like a cell in our human body, there is also energy for each place. So in a certain place, you need to have a certain balance of energy for the people in that residing in those places to have a contented life. That means the aspects of peace, harmony, a feeling of goodness, feeling of love for others, all should exist. Only then you are at harmony with yourself. So only when you are at peace with yourself, you are at peace with the world. You get this point now so far? Yeah. So our ancient saints would have realized that in a certain place, there is a certain type of energy that is lacking. Yeah. So this is where they have established a certain type of energy in the form of a certain type of idol, certain type of structure of a temple, etc., to bring that harmony back into that place, so that the place get energized sufficiently and appropriately, so that people residing there are getting this. See, I live in Singapore, so I'll tell you something, an analogy to what I just said. Here, people, when they are sick, there is a first form of medicine that they like to go to. It is called the traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM in short. What do? They actually poke needles into various points of your body. If you have a, let's say, a knee pain or a back pain, etc., they identify the pressure points that are associated with that problem, and they rectify by balancing the energy by poking some needles into those areas. Those needles are not very painful to poke. It does not, you don't ooze blood out of the place where it is poked, you know. So and they just let you lie on a bed. They let you, they understand what is your problem, what is the solution, they know, and they poke those needles only in a specific place for a particular reason. And after a while, when they feel it is all right, they actually pull out the needles. Then you realize that that ailment or that ache is no longer there. You see, so isn't it very strange? So this same formula or principle applies for these places as in on the earth as well. So they have realized, so that is why a particular spot is selected and a particular kind of deity is installed there. So the energy balance come, and then people are all happy. Generally speaking, I am also very surprised, and it's become a practice. I know what's happening now. When there is a dilapidated temple in a particular area, in a particular place, you will find, and this is true, and any scientific inquiry can be made. When a temple is destroyed and there are no rituals happening in that particular temple, you will see the people living in that vicinity will have some kind of a problem or the other. It can be health related. It can be mental health. People have mental retardation. People have serious depression problems. You will also find that the younger generation of people living in those vicinity will have very great difficulties in life. They will not be able to find, let's say, to pursue their education, to find an appropriate job for themselves, or to get the women of the young girls of the house to get married off, you know. So all of these problems are there. And it is really a true phenomenon. If you go to any area where there is a temple not functional, there is this problem for sure. So then that time you realize with your scientific mind, there must be something wrong scientifically. But then once you install or when you rejuvenate and rebuild this temple, you suddenly realize all of these problems are a thing of the past. So how does this happen, you see? So there is some big science into that. So what, in a nutshell, what we should understand is that whenever a temple is built, it really is meant for the interest of the people living there, in their interest, for their well-being and their prosperity. This fundamental idea you will get to, if you understand, then you will know what is the relevance of a temple in a particular area. In olden ages, the temple used to be let's say, a launch pad or a platform for social service. Children used to come to the temple to learn. So there are some pandits who can teach them Sanskrit verses. They can talk about meditation. They can teach anything, and they do selflessly. They do not expect any money from the children to come and learn all of that. And they teach arts, they teach dance, music to the children around the area free. They don't ask any money. On top of all of that, they also offer free food, you know, in the form of what we call as annadan. It is also considered as a glorified way to eliminate or cleanse your karma. So all of these are happening, and nobody talks about money. It's really a beautiful way a society functions, you see. So the temple forms the pivot, and it gives you whatever you need, and there is no need for you to worry whether do I need to pay for this, do I need to. There is no business there. And people come into a temple in olden ages, and that is what we should do now, to lose themselves. They want to lose the sense of that ego in them. They do not want to consider themselves as such and such a person with such and such a title, etc. The moment you step into a temple, what you need to do is to lose yourself. What do? You say, you consider yourself not there. You're not there. It's whatever is there is just a universal energy, which is represented in whatever attribute it is in the shape of the idol there, you see. So this is a beautiful thing that there. So what we do, so Arohi's question is, how do we go about? So understanding this background, what we do is, then we realize if they have built a temple for a particular deity in a particular kind of an architecture, there must be another reason for that as well, isn't it? Luckily for us, there are two ancient books that talks elaborately how a temple for Madhava has to be built, how a temple for Mahadeva has to be built, and what are the type of materials that you can use in this construction, and what is the kind of architecture that you do. So what we do is, we go scientifically. We do not want to disturb anything, so we just go to the old sculptures and the shilpis that we call. We consult with them. They are also masters in those kind of sciences of architecture in the primitive days, in the ancient days, specifically for temple work. So we consult them, and then we try to not dilute any aspect of the construction. We just go ahead and try to rebuild exactly as it was. Exactly. So it takes a lot of effort, but this is how we do. So there are a lot of experts who have a lot of understanding in this kind of books, ancient books on the architecture part of it. There are people who are experts only in construction, because you won't believe, you cannot typically in my state, you do not go to a building constructor, a modern day building constructor, and ask him to build a temple, because it requires a lot of understanding. And the laborers who come and the contractor, the shilpi, what we call, come to the temple, you will be very surprised that they will all actually fast for a long period of time, prepare themselves internally to ensure that all the sanctity is maintained within their body, and they come fully prepared with such devotion and such love and such bhakti. And it is on those basis only what they have done, so they, once it is completely once it is completed, the consecration ceremony is also as per the old scriptures that we have. We follow all the guidelines mentioned on how to do a consecration. So this is how it is done. Okay, while you are thinking of your next question, so one of the beautiful things that we have done is that so we have revived all of those old world traditions as well. So we have Annadan happening now in 3 of the temples that we have constructed, and it is happening for some time now. You'll be pleasantly surprised. We just initiate the concept of Annadan at least once a week. Today, in the 3 temples alone, a month 3,000 people are fed, which is amounting to 36,000 people are being fed in between the 3 temples in a year. So this is something. Then we have we also take care of cows. So the temple has a few cows. Then we also have a pond where you can feed the fish, and you can perform your rites and rituals for your ancestors, etc. So it is a huge platform to do all of those.
Wow, that's actually amazing. So the next question we have for you is, can you tell us what you do on a daily basis as the chairman of Kshetrapalaka?
Okay, so for me, because I'm overseas and I'm not physically present this, I have a lot of people connected with so many temples now. So there are so many temples under construction as well. As we speak, I have around 5 temples under construction. All of this we hope to consecrate it by February, March timeframe next year. If you're around, you're all welcome to join those. So for a temple that is running, I have a lot of calls that come to me talking about the daily issues and problems, and paying salaries, conducting a calendar of events. For example, if it is Navaratri coming up in the month of end of October, then I need to ensure that Devi temples all have the puja schedules done. We need to have ensure that there are parayans, we say, of the goddess, all to be done. So for current temples, they are mostly talk about the administration issues and the rituals and fixing the calendar of events, etc. This is how we do for the existing running temples. For the construction, it's mostly discussion with the contractors. It is mostly discussion with the local people, committee people, etc. on the evaluating the progress, putting timelines for schedules for completion of various phases of completion, etc. All of this. So this is kind of 2 different things.
Okay, that was an amazing response. So I wanted to ask you how you balance Acer, Kshetrapalaka, and your personal life all at the same time. Is there anything that you would like to suggest all the students that are watching so that they can balance their busy lives as well?
See, for me, Kshetrapalaka and the actions that is done is like the real purpose of my life. So that comes first. And this purpose is actually, that is what fuels my passion and my profession as well. Because for me and for you as a person, you can take it as an example. It is very, very, very important for all of us to be successful in life. Unless you are successful in life, nobody will pay attention to you. Nobody will heed to you. So once you're successful, let's say successful in terms of the happiness, the inner happiness that you find, or also in terms of the financial aspect, then you are able to do more. So for example, I have Kshetrapalaka, which I hold close to my heart. Okay, I know another temple is coming up in 3 months. There is a lot of expense associated with it. What do? My only source of income is my job. So I will keep in my mind that if I do very well in the next 3 months, I can make so much of incentive money that I can fund my temple. So it is not something different for me. The job is not different. My passion is not different. My purpose is different. It is all working towards unison. In fact, the profession is helping me to achieve my goal of greater purpose in life as well. So this is how it is. It's actually it's a beautiful blend. So while I enjoy serving uh, others, serving the people, I also enjoy my personal life. I enjoy also my personal the profession as well. I don't think it is conflicting at any point in time. If I'm in an office in a meeting and somebody calls me back from the temple, I actually really respond to him after when I'm free from the job, whatever it's required from a job, I go and call back, and they understand it perfectly. So we formulated a very good equation, so people know when to contact me, what to expect of me, etc. And they don't disturb me too much because they know that I'm not nearby, so I can. But I do frequently travel. I go once every month when it was possible, and to visit all those temples and give them guidance. So it gives a kick in my life, you see. So it is like a beautiful blend.
Okay, so based on the work that you do for Kshetrapalaka, seems that you are very passionate about Hinduism, Hindu culture. So why is the preservation of culture and heritage important? And how can we teens contribute to preserving our culture?
All right. So to clarify a point is that Hinduism is what I know and what I have personally taken effort over the years to understand better. The complexity of Hinduism comes from the fact is that it is a way of life. It is not a book with strict rules written for anybody to follow. So the whole system of philosophy, I would say, a philosophy of Hinduism is very ancient and is very, very rich, and it can be complex for people to understand. But unless you take a very keen interest, you will not understand the deep meanings that are lying in basically in whatever we do, in whatever rituals, etc. So while I love to read and understand more about our Mahapuranas, etc., and also a little bit of Upanishads, I do not have any kind of problem with anybody's other philosophy or ways of life. I do not have any problem, because as I mentioned earlier, I have traveled to many countries. I have met with people from many religions. I've even had very close talks with shaman priests in Mongolia as well. So I do not have any problem with any other thing. I do not feel that one is superior or one is not. I do not feel that. But this is what I was born in, and this is what I believe in, and this is what I've read about and I understand. I feel that the thought process of the fundamental philosophies and the principles that are written in our ancient books should not definitely have come from any ordinary mortal. This is not possible, because whatever is written is such superior wisdom that should have only come from a totally enlightened, or let's say from the consciousness, the parabrahma that we call. Because the status or the standard of the writing and the ideas that are presented are such superior category. And also, when I come back, why we should go and follow the culture is because, you see, the culture is completely drafted or designed based on the well-being of the society. The person who writes this, or the person who conveys the idea, never wanted any attention to himself or to glorify himself. It is about presenting an idea for the well-being of a total people living in an area. So as I mentioned earlier, when you come back and bring up the temple, you can see people progressing and prospering and understanding, and it's more, and they are becoming more better human beings because they get to listen to all those discourses, the ideas and principles narrated by Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. You get to learn to listen to a lot of scriptures and discourses which you otherwise did not have access to. So this makes you a better person, and nobody asks for any money. There are no strict rules to follow. So you live in a very kind of a free format, and you just imbibe or adopt or practice what is applicable to you or what you feel comfortable, because there is no forcing, there is no pressure in this kind of thing. And when you are actually feeling fulfilled that everything that you do is touching many people's lives, and it is actually helping the whole society in general, then you know that you are on the right path. When the idea brings some kind of a fulfillment that gives you an expansion within. So it is really wonderful. So this is the reason why you should upkeep the heritage, because if you really are keen for the welfare of other people, and the purpose in life should be only dependent on how many people's life you are able to touch. The purpose in life is nothing to do with how much asset that you have amassed, how many people, how much wealth you have, how many houses that you constructed. Because if you are doing that, then you're simply wasting away your life. If your life is not touching other people, it is simply a wastage of time. There is nowhere and not a single sentence where there is some mention about how to profit yourself, how to make the maximum out of the whole principle and philosophy is only dependent or only meant to empower people, to uplift people in the Puranas and the scriptures. So this is why it is important for young people to get into this understanding. The reason why for young people like you, I also gave an analogy of the human body and also the acupuncture, is for you to understand that you simply do not need to follow blindly or believe blindly what is written in the books. It has some scientific background. When you go and explore it, you will find the scientific background as well. If you actually get into this kind of a work, let's say not necessarily the temples, although you're most welcome, but anything to do with the spirituality, you will find that this is the purpose of the life. Because as I mentioned earlier, we are all spiritual beings. We have a soul within, and the body has a fixed time. After the time comes up, you need to let go of this body and you need to carry. So there is something inside us that is divine. So the divine gets gratification only upon fulfillment of dharmic activities, activities of righteousness. So if you will involve yourself as an example, you can take it for yourself. You associate yourself with one or two dharmic activities, and you experiment with you. Does it change anything you? Does it give you something that you are unable to describe? Is there any sense of a greater fulfillment? Then if you get that, that is what you should pursue. This is the real purpose of life.
So, what is your message to the youth?
So my message is very simple. You should make the world a better place. You know what you should think? I want the world to be a better place because I lived here. You understand? So you must lead a purposeful life. What is a purposeful life? A life that is of use to other people. Life is not meant to be spent on things that does self gratification. No, that is the wrongest idea. You must always believe that you have a role to play. There is a reason for your birth, and you are unique, and you are here for a real reason. Find that reason and make yourself so successful, so fulfilled, that you are able to touch as many people's lives as possible. One message today, if you actually look at some of the reports that are coming from, I don't know, from international bodies, just because of this pandemic staying here for so long, around 20 million people will be pushed into poverty this year alone. Do you know that? 20 million people will be pushed into poverty. I get a lot of calls every day from people, because I interact with all kinds of people back in India, the place where we conduct our work. A lot of people do not have any livelihood. They cannot afford to have 3 meals a day. There are a lot of people struggling. People with jobs have lost their jobs. There are a lot of things they need to take care of. There are a lot of commitments, etc. So all the more reason, when the world is going through a very difficult phase, it is very important for all of us to play our part. And that part that you choose to do, the role that you choose to do, has to be aligned with what you stand for. What you stand for is basically based on your personal values, your personal ethics, and also what is your passion, what is your skill, etc. So you identify your strengths, and then you give your best version of you. That means, let's say, Prisha, my best version is version number 10. That is what I offer to the world. Because once you become evolved, you are a happy, contented, fulfilled individual internally. I'm not saying in terms of material wealth, because that is completely meaningless, beyond a point. So you must try to become very successful, and you must be happy to declare by the time your exit time goes, that the world is a better place because I lived here. You got it? So this is what you should carry. And these are, although it's a very short time to discuss something so elaborate in terms of the topic, but you need to understand the crux of the matter is you all should have high self-confidence. You're all very special, very unique. There are no things that you cannot do. It's just that believe in positivity, find your purpose, and maybe you don't have to go looking for it. It will come knocking to your door. When it comes, you welcome with both open arms, and it will take you for eventually to your destiny, to what you're meant to do. So believe in yourself and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I think that also relates to the goal and motto of EBC. The motto of EBC is one world, one family. So it's that everyone in this world, we are all here together. We're all equals, and we should all be family members. We should all interact like family. And also the thing that we should build our confidence. We should, the things that we do, waking up early in the morning, they help to make us better people. They help to make us better, more sensitive, and more fulfilling people who can go out and change the world.
Sure.
So thank you, Dr. Nair, for this wonderful interview on how to balance your life so that we can all live meaningful and peaceful lives. It was a pleasure having you on the show. We would also like to thank the audience for lending us their time to further understand this topic of interest.
As EBC teens, we are always interested in gaining new knowledge about topics that we are passionate about. Together, we will become the new age leader that this world needs. Join us and be part of this larger than life mission.
Okay, so Mr. Nair, you were amazing in this interview. So we just wanted to give you a certificate from EBC Teens, and I'm just going to screen share it to you. So this is your certificate of appreciation.
Thank you very much. I'm greatly honored. And I really wish all the very, very best to all of you. You will all become very successful and also live a worthwhile life, fulfilling life.
Thank you, sir.
So also for those of us on the audience, if you want to learn more about EBC, you can explore our website, which is earlybirdsclub.org, or hop onto our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page @earlybirdsteens. If you have any questions, please shoot an email to teens@earlybirdsclub.org. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Nair, again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.